Hello guys, today I'm going to review the game Guilty Gear Xrd Rev.2. I don't know how to pronounce that Xrd thing. Okay, which is going to be released on PS4 and PS3 on May 26th of 2017, and there are many games that are going to be released. Okay, coming back to the review, in 2017, the fighting game genre is in truly rude health. You cannot try Hadouken without hitting legitimately brilliant beat 'em up these days, with every developer involved putting out something that could arguably be called their best work. Street Fighter, King of Street Fighters, Mortal Kombat are all notably good and relevant once again. Confusingly, Rev 2 is the third iteration of the Arc System Works Guilty Gear Xrd following on the from the last year's Revelator update. Joined the roster as Baikan, the revenge-driven samurai from the previous Guilty Gear games, and Answer, a brand new character. He spends the entire fight on his phone, lobbing out deadly business cards like throwing stars. He's a business ninja, of course. The story mode, which features a wildly over-the-top action, has received a new chapter, while some of the characters have gained some individual episodes fleshing out their roles. There are also being a rebalancing of the rosters, with some new property being tweaked to buff and nerf a few characters as well as getting entirely new moves. However, all this is one really going to appeal to the hardcore Guild Gear fans, and they are going to be buying this regardlessly. Right? Am I right? Okay. Which begs the question, with so many great fighting games currently available and few others on the horizon, who should you pick up? Why should you pick up Guild Gear? It's clearly a very accomplished and absolutely beautiful looking game, with its crazy looks 2D, but actually 3D visual styles and detailed animation. But what lies beneath? Guilty Gear Xrd is a very technical fighting game. It uses a 5-button system, punch, kick, slash, and hot slash, and dust, with far more mobility options than either Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. You can double jump, dash forward and away from your opponent there, you can block in the air, and you can use your tension gauge to cancel normal attacks or perform cinematic instant kills. For example, there's also a considerable variety of character archetypes, a few of them offering more unique ways to approach a fight within the entire genre. If you're coming to Guilty Gear with little experience, it can be a touch overwhelming. But to counter this, the game provides a brilliant tutorial system that walks you through all the basics and beyond. It also creates some great mini games that are fun in their own right while discreetly teaching you some keys combat components. On obstacle course, teaching the fundamental of the air dashing or popping balloons to learn jump cancelling. There's even a quiz about all the things in Guilty Gear, which has you punching your chores and answer to it. From simple bread and butter combos to lessons on advanced matchup specific techniques, there's a wealth of information all presented in more interesting way than any other fighting game. However, Guild Gear is fundamentally more complicated than its peers. There are several different ways to block. For example, despite their fantastic tutorials, there will be much more for the newcomer to get their head around. Even fighting game fans will find Rev 2 overwhelming at times, with less memorable character than, say, Street Fighters or Marvel vs. Capcom. There isn't a lure for the casual gamer outside of their amazing visuals or desire to actually play Guilty Gear properly and learn. The story mode is an odd one, since it's essentially a few hours of, of anime cutscene containing no actual fights, although it does have a traditional arcade mode, which tells the story of the characters leading up to the main story mode. The game isn't as instantly satisfying for those just looking to mash buttons and watch the fancy stuff happen in the way of the Tekken 7, for example, which makes Rev 2 difficult to recommend for everyone. Ironically, given how impressive the training tools are, Guilty Gear continues to set a high bar for online lobbies in a fighting game, however, essentially a virtual arcade where players walk in their own avatar and sit at a cabinet and wait for opponents. This allows for a party of players to come together in a central hub, all pair off and play games with each other in a decent, charming interface. During the game, the latency is shown at the top of the right screen to the exact frame, meaning you can simulate this in the training mode and nail your most advanced combos online. It's very impressive, crucial, stable and lag-free for most part. The two new characters are fantastic additions to the already great lineup. And although there isn't a lot of major new content outside of them, Guilty Gear has always been fighting game chock full of content. These games reward you with a versatile and interesting combat systems which allows you to express yourself in the way that many other fighting games people don't. Should you be willing to put time in it? Verdict. Ultimately, Road 2 leaves Guilty Gear in a weird place. It's an absolutely brilliant fighting game and one with a tremendous wealth of modes and tutorials that puts most of its peers to shame. It is in many ways the best 2D fighting game on the market right now, thanks to the way it explains every aspect of its gameplay in a perfect manner. How it's far tougher game to get into than say Street Fighter or Injustice 2 whatsoever. So although the tutorial is welcome, it's likely to existing to the fighting game fans who get the most out of the Guilty Gear as opposed to the total beginners. As an example, expansion, it's basically two characters, extra story bits, and the redacting of the roster, which will appeal to anyone who already plays Guilty Gear. Regardless, for newcomers, Rev 2 is most complete Gear game to date. But we want this is the game you will have to put time to truly appreciate it. It's a good job that it provides all the tools necessary to do this. Stay tuned for more reviews about the stuff and whatsoever, whatever.